Hello, hello. We're currently on US 93 heading towards Las Vegas from Kingman. I think it's Kingman. And I thought I would go ahead and update you guys on what's happening. The crack in the window looks like it's getting worse. So I'm gonna have to deal with that with the insurance company. I had looked it up and I have to file an online claim or download an app and some other stuff, which I haven't been able to do because we're on the road. And you can see here, the desert here is much different than the ones in Utah. We just spent today at Grand Canyon and had a blast walking the rim trail, which is like a baby level trail. It's got paved sidewalk and everything. But even that was very exciting and really nice walk. I actually recommend going on that walk if you only have like one day or half a day to spend at Grand Canyon. But anyhow, we are getting ready to head into Las Vegas, and I am so excited. I've got about a week or so scheduled to Las Vegas, and am going to, it says tourist info here, but I don't know, I don't see it, so maybe not. It said there was a tourist info, but I don't see a building. I was trying to cut over to get some information and maybe get a map. We still don't have a map of Arizona. And I'm trying to get a map so that we actually have a map when GPS fails. Which, honestly, that's a tip that I'm going to make is, for those of you who, like me, were in the eastern states, at least in Florida and around that area, I didn't really ever have any issues with GPS not working. Until you go up in the mountains and stuff, which evidently when you're out in the west and in the Midwest, when you're out here from like Kansas on out, the internet cuts out quite a bit, you know. And I'm talking about, when I say internet, I mean even your phone service. You have no cell service, so you have no data, which means if your GPS was not set, you know, and stored in memory, you know, like you didn't have a downloadable map or anything, you kind of out of luck. That happened to us today when we were at Grand Canyon. When we tried to get out, it turned out that there was no internet and no cellular access up there while we were actually at the national park, you know, Grand Canyon National Park. So I drove around aimlessly trying to figure out how to get out of there until I realized we had a map that the ranger had given us, and it listed like what road, but even then it was still confusing. You know, it ended up being like, I don't know if it was, I don't even remember the road. I think it was 94. I'm not 100% sure. It was the one that took us down south from there to Highway 40, Interstate 40. So, mapping your route traditionally with paper may still be safer when you're out here in the desert, because GPS is a hit and miss, and a lot of times it goes out. Like right now, I'm on, I think it's 93 heading towards Las Vegas, and I do have the GPS navigator currently set. The issue though is if I were to disengage the GPS, I would suddenly potentially lose track of where I am, and that means not really knowing how far I am from my destination or the exits and what roads are coming up. So it's kind of important to have paper and maps when you're traveling out here like this. At least that's what I found out. So if you can get a United States atlas, if you're in the United States obviously, or an atlas for your country wherever you are, that's something I would recommend, you know, and something I would really consider doing if I were to travel again out here. Because GPS, although it worked pretty well and is pretty good for finding things, it's not a 100% reliable method of travel. I mean, navigation out here. I don't know if it's raining out there. I don't know if you guys can see the clouds out in the distance. There's like a white mist across the mountains. That looks to me like, it looks like smoke or smog or fog, but it could be rain. I know that in Florida the rain comes down, it looks gray, so I'm not sure why this is coming down looking white. Other than it's not coming down, it's just sitting there. But we've got a nice little sunset going on right now on the side. In a way, I'm thinking the sun's not going to set yet. I was kind of hoping it would set before we entered Las Vegas, because I think it's really impressive to drive into Las Vegas in the dark. If you've ever been to Las Vegas, and you know what I'm talking about, it's like pitch black all around you, you know, because you're in the desert and there's no lights anywhere. And then suddenly, as you approach Las Vegas, the whole place lights up. It's like jewel diamonds in the desert, you know, just millions or brilliant lights that look like different types of jewels and gems, all shining in the night. I think we will get there today before sunset, so we're not going to see that tonight. But I plan on traveling a bit while we're at Las Vegas, because we're using it essentially as a home base for 1 week to do some traveling and sightseeing. And I suspect we may be coming back into Vegas at night, so we'll see the light. That way my wife can experience that view, which I think is spectacular. The deserts are proving to be very interesting to see as well, because there's a lot of different types of desert, and driving through the different states, you know, you get to experience all these different land masses, landforms, and environments, and basically systems. You know, the land, the terrain is all different. Even the mountains, like the mountains, there's a vast difference between the mountains from the Smoky Mountains to the Rocky Mountains. They're both mountains, they're both huge mountains, but the Rocky Mountains are quite a bit different than the mountains you see in the Smoky Mountains. And also, like, we just left Flagstaff, and those mountains are also different from the others. I would say the Flagstaff Mountains are more closely related to, or seem more close in appearance and, you know, to the Rocky Mountains. But even then, looking at Flagstaff Mountains and the forests and stuff, you can easily tell them apart from the ones at Rocky Mountains. And definitely you could tell those two apart from, well, I don't know about you, but I know I could just by looking at the mountains and the trees, that it's not the Rocky Mountains but the Smoky Mountains. They all have their own distinct flavor, if you want to call it that, their own distinct appearances. The trees are different, the terrain is different. You know, the Rocky Mountains are mostly rocks, not much dirt. The Smoky Mountains have a lot of rocks and dirt, and the plants are also different. So, and of course here out in the desert where we're in Las Vegas, these mountains are totally different. Look at these mountains. You can see the mountains in the distance to the skyline. Don't see any mountains here with snow top peaks like you do in Colorado. So, pretty fascinating. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and just let you guys ride and enjoy the view here for a few more minutes as we watch the sun sort of set. I don't know if it's gonna set that fast. And we head on out towards Las Vegas on US 93. Maybe I'll go ahead and pause it and resume or something when we hit Hoover Dam. I am curious because the last time I was here, they were building that new road that went over Hoover Dam instead of letting people, you know, drive directly on the dam. So it'll be interesting to see when I get out there I'm pretty sure that new road, that overpass, is done. So it's gonna be interesting to see if they still let people drive on the dam, which I don't think they do. I'm not 100% sure. I know it would seem kind of weird to have that overpass thing and then still let people be on the dam. So I'm gonna find out, and it'll be nice to check out the area and see what's going on with Lake Mead to see if the water level's even lower. So I look forward to getting a chance to see that again. As far as my experiences with driving here on this trip so far, we're currently at 3,212 miles on the trip odometer, but you got to add about 40 miles or so, 50 miles to that number to show how far we've actually traveled since we started the journey. We're almost at halfway, so I figure by the time we get to Las Vegas and drive around a little bit, it's at least 3,500 miles. So we're looking now at about 7,000 or 8,000 mile trip. That's how long this trip is estimated to be. Of course, it could be a little bit more, it could be less, depending on whether or not we decide to beeline it back to Florida or take our way and explore and do things and see things. A lot of it depends on budget and, you know, what it looks like. I want to thank all of you for praying for me and wishing me well and happiness on my trip with my wife. This is something we didn't even think could happen, but we did our best to plan and save our money and budget for it. We didn't spend any extra money on extra things like miscellaneous things and tried to eat really cheap, as well as not spend money on, you know, I guess luxury items, things that weren't required. We kind of bought cheap things and lived very simply to conserve money to make sure we had enough to make this journey. So, just a little tip for those of you who are wanting to travel. If you really want it, make it happen. And the way to make it happen is to come up with a plan. And if that means saving money and skimping on eating out, don't eat out. Eat cheap stuff like rice. You know, eat noodles, eat lo mein, eat cheap food. Or you can eat good food. I mean, it just depends on your priority. You know, if your priority is to try to get out there and travel and you don't have enough funds, you got to figure out how to make it. You either make more money or you save the money that you have. Now, if you're living in a van while you're working in a town and you can stealth camp, you can save a lot of money because you don't have to pay rent. Although you have to, and you don't have to pay utilities, although you have to pay a little bit more for gas because you're driving around everywhere. That was another issue that I thought was worth pointing out. I think one of the viewers had said that they, I guess, tried to move into their van and found that it was so expensive to drive around. And indeed it is. Gasoline is expensive. You know, like right now, in this area around Arizona, I've been seeing gas prices of roughly $2.83 to $3.25, 27. So when I left Florida, at the time it was $2.59, and that was high. $2.59 was about the price in Florida. And as I traveled, Tennessee, I think, and Kentucky and stuff, they weren't too bad. Georgia was about the same as Florida, surprisingly. Usually Georgia's like 20 cents cheaper than Florida, but it turned out it was like Tennessee and I think Kentucky and stuff were like anywhere from 15 to 30 cents cheaper than Florida prices. But as we started to move out west, prices have been going up more and more. So there's a chance we're going to go out to California. So it'll be interesting to see what the prices look like in California. But right now, in this area, in Arizona and Flagstaff and stuff, it's been about $2.89 to $3.37, depending on where you got it. So, I seem to be rambling on and on, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video for now, go ahead and end it, and if anything interesting comes up, I'll go ahead and film it for you guys. Until next time, everyone, take care. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your kind thoughts and well wishes. God bless you all. Stay safe, and enjoy your life. Take care now.